Welcome to the Pandemonium Witches podcast, where the AD is in the HD, the true crime is as scary as the ghost stories, and the hosts are as cunning as foxes. I'm Kat.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Em.
And I'm Meg.
Now on to the show.
Oh, she's alive.
I'm trying to... Give me a second.
So how was your night? It was pretty unexciting, right?
I mean, for the most part.
Good.
I
slept, you know.
Well, good. You needed it. You've had a rough couple of nights, so
I have.
This
you know, me trying to become friends with the porcelain gods, you know.
Yeah, that was not a fun weekend for you.
No, I'm not pregnant. Thank God. It's poison, food poisoning, right. But not thank God. That sounded bad. Okay, it would be great if I could have the babies, but
it's not something you need right at this moment, though.
No, God no. And now, of course, it's growling. So it's just gonna be you and me today. Emma's
Okey-doke.
house hunting.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting.
No, you can talk. What's up? Oh, you're gonna do dishes? Oh, okay.
Don't fall in the sink.
Your sister says don't fall in the sink.
Hey. Try to attack my face.
Try to talk to your face?
No, attack my face. Monopoly.
Oh. Yeah, she can't attack your base because you have nothing there.
And
I heard attack his face. So
I know,
that's
what I... Well, I also have my good ear covered, but, you know, I mean...
That's valid.
He's doing dishes. He's such a good man. He treats me so well.
He does. He treats you like a queen that you are.
He does. It's great.
So,
just us.
This new headset, it has a mute switch.
Has a mute switch.
It's a slide.
Does it work?
I don't know. Let's try it out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, damn. Then it doesn't work.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, at least I can actually hear you.
This is true.
Yes.
This is very true.
Yes.
And I can adjust the mic so that way
I can actually...
It's in my mouth or a little bit further away from my mouth.
Yes.
And I should get the piece that I can connect it to my phone tomorrow.
Yeah.
If FedEx
actually comes on time.
Yeah, pretty much. But for now, I'm using it through my iPad, so I can do my notes on my phone. So,
there you go.
Yay, technology!
Yay, technology! Is having everything on a Google Doc kind of like helping?
Yeah, because I don't have to print them out, so it makes it a little easier.
Good. So my OCD comes in handy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because before that, I was just putting it in a Word doc and just printing it out that way. So it's just another form. It's fine.
Okay. So what do we have?
Cat is watching the birds. Oh, it's Blue Jay. Sorry.
The cat. No, Fluffy's watching the birds?
Yes.
Oh, God. Your cat's so freaking cute. He's like a loaf. He's like a fat loaf. Yes.
Yeah. He's
just the tail, just slightly.
Mm-hmm. Just a slight twitch.
Just a slight twitch. Nothing.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Okay, so
what do we got?
today's topic.
What do we got today? What
Of-
murderous tales do we have today?
It is very murderous too.
It's very murderous,
it
not
is-
just slightly.
Yeah, it's there was a lot of murder.
There's a lot of murder.
There was a lot of murders.
Okay.
That they are still, like, the victims are still being DNA matched
No.
to this day. Yeah,
Okay.
like it's crazy. But it's Gary Ridgway.
Ooh, the Green River Killer.
Yes, the Green River Killer, who is still alive at the age of 74.
He's still alive? They haven't, like...
Yeah. No, they because I guess something to do with them, like, still using information that he gives them to, like, find more bodies.
There's...
Yeah.
Okay, because I know they
Like-
had, like, released an article a couple of years ago that they found more bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So he murdered all these people. And they're still... Okay.
All these women.
Oh my god.
This is a Pandemonium Witches podcast. Trigger warning. The following episode contains graphic violence and gruesome depictions. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah. So, the background on him. He was born February 18th, 1949.
Okay.
Currently 74. For those that
Can't
aren't
math.
so good with math. Yeah. He was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. He had 2 brothers, one older, one younger.
Uh-huh.
Didn't have the best home life because, most of them don't when they
Right.
start off.
Right.
His mother was domineering, and while he was young, he witnessed more than one violent argument between his parents.
Not just like a normal grade A argument, just like a
Mm-mm.
awesome. That's
Violent.
great. That's great. We love that for a good backstory.
Right. His father was a bus driver who would complain about the sex workers being present along his route. Yeah.
Okay.
So he had a bedwetting problem until he was 13.
Oh.
And his mother would wash his genitals after every episode. He later told defense psychologists that as a child he had conflicting feelings of anger and sexual attraction toward her and fantasized about killing her. Right?
Oh,
Like, just spectacular home life.
just great. I don't feel like I
Yeah.
have to vomit at all.
Right. He was also dyslexic and was held back a year in high school. When he was 16, he stabbed a 6-year-old who survived.
Stabbed?
He then,
Like
with a knife. He had led the boy into the woods and stabbed him through the ribs and into the liver.
no, ma'am.
Yeah. Like, just starting off strong right there.
Wow.
His IQ was recorded as being in the low 80s.
So he dum-dum.
Apparently.
But he was smart
But
enough
I mean-
to... Okay. All right. Sorry.
Sometimes people aren't book smart and street smart, and sometimes they're street smart and not book smart, and sometimes they're just not either. And sometimes they're both. Like, it,
Like that
you
favorite...
never know.
Like that favorite insult. Yeah, you smart. You Sesame Street smart.
Yeah.
That's... Oh, man.
He had a couple of wives.
A couple?
Yeah. Had a total of 3 wives
3.
and divorced 3 times.
Okay.
He graduated from high school in 1969 and married his then 19-year-old girlfriend, high school girlfriend, Claudia Craig. He joined the Navy and was sent to Vietnam, where he served on a supply ship and saw combat.
That might have been one of his triggers points.
Yeah, probably. He had frequent sexual intercourse with the sex workers while being in the Navy, and he contracted gonorrhea, which he then gave to his wife.
As you do, you know.
Yeah. He was angered by him getting this STD, but he didn't stop using the sex workers, nor did he use protection after that, like before or after that.
So he gets it, and he just continues.
And doesn't do anything to prevent it. Yeah.
Right. That's so smart.
So Claudia ends up divorcing him within a year.
As she should. Yes. Well done.
Family and friends state that there were infidelities on both parties, but it's unclear.
No, it's probably just him.
Well, obviously on him.
Obviously.
For sure. But,
right.
So his second wife was Marcia Winslow. They had a son together. First wife, no kids. Second wife had a child.
Okay.
Marcia claimed that Gary had placed her in a chokehold at least once during their marriage.
I'm assuming not in like a loving manner.
Oh no. He, of course, like they tend to do. He got super religious.
As you do, as one does. Yes.
He went door to door prophesizing, while read the Bible at work and at home, and insisted Marcia follow the strict teachings of their pastor. He would frequently cry after sermons or reading the Bible. And then, despite his beliefs, he still continued to use sex workers and wanted his wife to participate in sex in both public and inappropriate places, sometimes in areas where his victims would later be found.
Oh no.
Yeah, he was basket case.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just gonna say, like, doing these notes, I did them over like a length of, I think, like 2 weeks, just because I had to take so many breaks for my own mental health. I
have no doubt. He sounds, from everything that I saw about him, because I saw that documentary on Netflix, and then the made-for-TV movie on Amazon Prime. He's just fucked in the head.
Oh yeah, he was something.
Mm-hmm.
So all 3 ex-wives and several ex-girlfriends reported that he demanded sex from them several times a day.
A day.
Often he would want to have sex in a public area or in the woods, and he admitted to having a fixation with sex workers. But he frequently complained about their presence in his neighborhood. But he still took advantage of their services.
Of course, as you do.
He said in a statement that was read at his hearing, he said that he hated prostitutes and didn't want to pay them for sex.
But he...
Yeah.
Okay.
Make it make sense.
Right. The math
make it make sense, because it didn't.
The math ain't math in here, guys.
Not at all. Okay, so his third wife was Judith Mawson, who he married in 1988.
Okay.
But he started dating her in 1985 while he was doing his murders.
So he was dating her while he was...
Yeah.
Okay.
She stated she had no clue he was committing these murders before being contacted by the police in 1987. 87, before they got married.
How do you
never heard of the Green River Killer due to her not watching the news.
I mean, I don't watch the news, but that's just because it's depressing and I get most of my news from TikTok and Instagram Reels. But how do you not know if they come home covered in blood? Like, how do you... it was just a trucking accident. That's just some oil, you know?
Well, I don't know. She claimed in a 2010 interview that when she moved into his house, there was no carpet there in any of the house.
Like, none of the rooms had carpet?
None.
Well, that's kind of odd for that time.
Detectives told her later that he probably had a body wrapped in the carpet, and that's why it wasn't in the house.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get out of bloodstains, so I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah.
So in the 80s and 90s, he murdered at least 71 teenage girls and women near Seattle and Tacoma, Washington State.
At least. So for a minimum.
At least.
71.
That's as far as they can tell. He later reported he had killed so many that he lost count. Lost count. Like, what? Majority of the murders he committed occurred between 1982 and 1984.
So during...
And victims were...
During the time where it was... Sorry to interrupt. This was during the time where hitchhiking was super prevalent in the upper Midwest. Or the Pacific Northwest, at least, because people would hike down Highway 1 and Highway 5. They would hitchhike. I mean, I lived in California, so it was a thing during the 70s and 80s for people to... Okay.
Yeah. You didn't lock, you were still at a time where, you really didn't lock your doors.
Mm-mm.
And stranger was just a friend you hadn't met yet.
Yep.
So his victims were either sex workers or runaways who he picked up along the Pacific Highway South.
Man.
He sometimes showed them a picture of his son to trick them into trusting him. Yeah.
That is sick.
A few times he did it, like, he picked up the sex workers while his son was still in the vehicle with him.
No.
Yeah. And they would go into the woods and have sex and then he would then kill them and then come back up to the car with his child. Still in it. So after gaining the victim's trust, they would engage in sexual actions. Sometimes it all depends on what he was wanting them to do, honestly. And then minutes afterwards, he would wrap his forearm around the front of their necks and use the other arm to pull back, strangling them. Basically putting them in a chokehold.
Oh my God.
He killed most victims in his home, his truck, or in a secluded area. And majority of the bodies were dumped in wooded areas around the Green River, Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, and other dumped sites within the South King County.
Next.
There were 2 confirmed and 2 suspected victims in Portland, Oregon. The bodies were often left in clusters, sometimes posed, but usually naked. He would also return to the bodies and engage in necrophilia.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Pretty much.
Mm-mm.
He later explained that he did not find it more satisfying, but doing so reduced his need to obtain a living victim, thus limiting his exposure to being caught. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Most of the bodies were not discovered until only bones remained, and at least 2 bodies are still listed as Jane Does. He would usually contaminate the sites with gum, cigarettes, and writing materials belonging to others. And he even transported a few victims across state lines into Oregon to confuse the police.
What the fuck?
Oh, yeah. Like, I told you, I had to do a lot of breaks with this.
That's...
So in the early 1980s, all this is in the 80s, like...
So how long of a wingspan is that? Wingspan? How long is a wingspan? How long of a time span is...
Like, literally just a few years. So he was finally arrested in 2001 for all the murders.
Okay.
So in the early 80s, King County Sheriff's Office formed the Green River Task Force to investigate the murders. Task Force members included 2 men, Robert Keppel and Dave Rurcht, who periodically interviewed incarcerated Ted Bundy in 1984. Bundy offered his opinions on the psychology, motivations, and behavior of the Green River Killer. He then suggested that said killer was revisiting the dump sites to have sex with the victims, which obviously was true. And if the police found a fresh grave, they should stake it out and wait for him to come back because he would return. Yeah. Like, you're asking
well, I mean, if you... Okay.
A very smart serial killer to help you catch another serial killer.
Well, to be fair, okay, I know we're going to probably discuss Ted Bundy later, right? He had a fake cast. He cast his arm to lure
to get women to help him.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he did a quote-unquote poll. What draws people in more is if they... had saved somebody.
Seem helpless.
Yeah, if they'd seem helpless and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, that is sick. Like, he pulled people to see. Anyways. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand why they asked him for help, because he's wicked smart. He's wicked smart.
He was.
Yeah.
But not smart enough because he got caught.
Of course.
So he was arrested twice. In 1982 and 2001 on charges related to prostitution. He became a suspect in the Green River killings in 1983. In 1984, he was given and passed a polygraph test, which, I mean, they're not that hard to pass or to trip up. So
right, we talked about it.
That was the big thing.
Right, we talked about it in the last episode that I was able to pass polygraph test because I'm always in pain.
Yeah. So that's
it's not
nothing unusual.
Right.
But back then in the 80s and 90s, that was the big thing that they used.
Of course.
So on April 7th, 1984, the police took hair and saliva samples from him to hold.
To just hold on to it?
As DNA.
Okay.
Just in case.
Just in case. For a rainy Sunday.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So his kill rate went down while he was in a relationship with his third wife, Judith, only killing 3 victims after they were married. He stated that his kill rate went down due to truly loving her.
But he's still... Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So... Remember the samples that were collected?
Yeah.
New samples were collected in 1987 that were later submitted to DNA profiling, which provided the evidence for the arrest warrant. On November 30th, 2001, because thankfully by this point, DNA sampling and testing has come so far.
Oh, yeah.
He was at the Kenworth truck factory where he worked as a spray painter. The police finally arrested him.
So they arrested him at work?
Yes.
Good. Good. Well,
He was arrested.
well
Right?
done.
Finally. It's about time.
About time. About time. It's about damn time.
So they arrested him on suspicion of murdering 4 women nearly 20 years earlier, after the first being identified as a potential suspect when DNA evidence conclusively linked semen left in the victims to the saliva swab taken by the police.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay.
The 4 victims were named in the original indictment were Marcia Chapman, Opal Mills, Cynthia Hines, and Carol Ann Christensen.
Wow.
3 more victims were added to the indictment after forensic scientists identified microscopic spray paint spheres as a specific brand and composite of paint that was used at the Kenworth factory during the specific time frame when these women were killed.
Shit.
Yeah. And those 3 women were Wendy Caulfield, Deborah Bonner, and Deborah Estes.
Damn.
Early August 2003, he moved from a maximum security cell at King County Jail to Airway Heights minimum to medium security level tank.
Medium?
Some news reports stated his lawyers were closing a plea bargain that would spare him the death penalty in return for his confession to a number of the Green River murders.
There's quite a lot to unpack there.
Oh, I know.
I could see why you had to take a lot of breaks.
It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
November 5th, 2003, he entered a guilty plea to 48 charges of aggravated first-degree murder as part of a plea bargain, which was agreed to back in June, that would spare him execution for his cooperation in locating the remains of the victims and providing other details.
What?
Yeah, I know. In his statement that accompanied his plea, he explained he had killed all of them inside King County and that he had transported and dumped the remains near Portland to confuse the police. The deputy prosecutor, Jeffrey Bard, noted in court that the deal contained the names of 41 victims who would not be the subject of state versus Ridgway if it were not for the plea agreement. Okay, back to the horror this is.
Back to the murders.
Yes. So, now, December 18th, 2003, King County Superior Court Judge Richard Jones sentenced Gary Ridgway to 48 life sentences without the possibility of parole to be served consecutively.
Ooh.
He was also sentenced to an additional 10 years for tampering with evidence for each of the 48 victims, adding a total of 480 years to his 48 life sentences.
So he had 48 consecutive life sentences.
Mm-hmm. And then he was later given a 49th life sentence after the remains of victim 49 was found.
Holy crap. I mean, good, yes. But, good God.
I know. So he led prosecutors to 3 bodies in 2003. On August 16, 2003, the remains of a 16-year-old was found in Numaclaw, Washington, were pronounced as Pammy Annette Avent. The remains of Marie Malvar and April Buttram were found in September 2003. On November 23rd, 2005, a weekend hiker found the skull of one of the 48 women he had admitted to murdering in his plea bargain with the county prosecutors.
Holy shit.
The skull of another victim, Tracy Winston, who was 19 when she disappeared September 12th, 1983, was found November 20th, 2005 by a man hiking in a wooded area near the Issaquah, which is southeast of Seattle, which would end up giving him his 49th life sentence. In 2023, remains formerly known as Bones 17 that were discovered in 85 were finally identified as murder victim Lori Ann Raspoknik, who had disappeared in Seattle in 82.
Holy shit.
He confessed to more confirmed murders than any other American serial killer. Over a period of 5 months of police and prosecutor interviews, he confessed to 48 murders, 42 of which were on the police list of probable Green River killer victims.
There's a lot.
Trying to process it?
Yeah, there's a lot to... I mean, I play Tetris to kind of keep my...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a lot.
I've died 4 times on the same level of only like 4,000, and I never die less than 20. So it's
a lot to sink in.
Okay. So like I lived in these areas. Like I would go visit friends in these areas. I would work at shops in these areas. These were like areas that I would frequent. Like,
right.
This is sick. Like, to me, it's like I got to go back through my photos and be like, well, I went hiking here.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did I step over a dead body? Like, how?
Right.
Okay.
On February 9th, 2004, county prosecutors began to release the videotaped records of his confessions. In one such interview, he initially told investigators he was responsible for the deaths of 65 women. However, in another interview with Dave Richard, the task force member who spoke to Ted Bundy.
Yeah,
on December 31st, 2003, he claimed to have killed 71 victims and that he had sex with them before killing them, which was a detail he did not reveal until after his sentencing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In his confession, he admitted that he targeted sex workers because they were easy to pick up and that he hated most of them.
What in the fuck?
Mm-hmm. He confessed to having sex with the bodies after he murdered them, but claimed he began to bury the later victims to resist the urge to commit necrophilia.
That is sick.
I know.
I mean, all of this is sick, obviously, but I mean, like,
yes.
That's just...
It's like every turn.
Another left turn.
He was placed in solitary confinement at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla in January 2004. Mm-hmm. On May 14th, 2015, he was transferred to USP Florence High, which is a high-security federal prison east of Cannon City, Colorado. However, in September 2015, due to public outcry and discussions with Governor Inslee, Corrections Secretary Bernie Warner announced that Gary would be transferred back to Washington to be easily accessible for open murder investigations. He was returned by chartered plane to Washington State Pen, the same one he had left on October 24th, 2015.
There are so many things going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you think, like, my brain's got a handle on it.
Yep.
just veers off the rails.
Like, I have to, like, focus on my notes, because if I pay attention to, like, just the faces you're making, I'd never get through this.
I'm sorry. If I could control my face.
No, it's fine.
If I could control my face, this would be a completely different podcast. But since we're not.
This is very true.
Since this is
very true. So, before his confessions, authorities attributed 49 murders to the Green River Killer. He confessed to murdering at least 71 victims. The victims did not have a specific race or ethnicity. However, they were all financially poor and were all younger women / girls between the ages of 14 and 26, except for 3 victims.
Ew.
He found his victims in vulnerable circumstances, i.e., working as sex workers or being runaways. At the time of his sentencing, his plea agreement stated that he would plead guilty to any and all future cases in King County where his confession could be corroborated by reliable evidence.
So, his plea deal was that if he admitted to a murder, he had to plead guilty to these. Okay, that's good.
And so if they ended up finding any more bodies, no matter how far in the future it would be, if the DNA evidence came back,
that it was him. Okay.
Yeah, that it would be him.
Okay. I mean, I like that. That's good. Not that there was more bodies. No. Not that there was more bodies. I realized how that sounded when it came out. No. That it was...
No.
That he was punished for... That's just sick.
Do you want me to read the list of his victims? Yes. It's a lot.
In memoriam, yes, absolutely.
Wendy Lee Caulfield, who was 16. Her body was found in July of 1982. Gazelle Ann Laverne, who was 17. Her body was found in September of 1982. Deborah Lynn Bonner, who was 23, was found in August of 1982. Marcia Faye Chapman, 31, was found August 15th, 1982. Cynthia Jean Hines, 17, August 1982. Opal Charmaine Mills, 16, August 1982. Terry Renee Milligan, 16, April 1984. Mary Bridget Meehan, 18, November 1983. Deborah Lorraine Estes, 15, May 1988. Linda Jane Bull, 16, found January 1983. Denise Darcel Bush, 23, June 1985. Shonda Lee Summers, 16, August 1983. Shirley Sherrill, 18, June 1985. Rebecca Mario, 20, December 2010. Colleen Renee Brockman, 15, May 1984. Sandra Denise Major, 20, December 1985. Wendy Stevens, 14, March 1984. Alma Ann Smith, 18, April 1984. Dolores Laverne Williams, 17, March 1984. Lori Ann Brespotnik. It's 15 to 16, December 1985. Galen Matthews, 23, September 1983. Andrea Maureen Childers, 19, October 1989. Sandra K. Gabbard, 17, April 1984. Kimmy Kai Pitsor, 16, December 1983. Mary Jane Malvar, 18, September 2003. Carol Ann Christensen, 21, May 1983. Martina Teresa Otherly, 18, November 1984. Cheryl Lee Wims, 18, March 1984. Yvonne Antosh, 19, October 1983. Carrie Ann Rose, 15, March 1985. Constance Elizabeth Neon, 19, October 1983. Tammy Charlene Lies, 16, April 1985. Kelly Marie Ware, 22, October 1983. Tina Marie Thompson, 21, April 1984. April Dawn Buttram, 16, August 2003. Debbie Mae Abernathy, 26, March 1984. Tracy Ann Winston, 19, March 1986. Maureen Sue Feeney, 19, May 1986. Mary Sue Bayo, 25, October 1984. Pammy Annette Avent, 15, August 2003. Delise Louise Plager, 22, February 1984. Kimberly Nelson, 21, June 1986. Lisa Lorraine Yates, 19, March 1984. Mary West, 16, September 1985. Cindy Ann Smith, 17, June 1987. Patricia Barzak, 19, February 1993. Roberta Joseph Hayes, 21, September 1991. Marta Reeves, 36, September 1990. Patricia Ann Yellowrobe, 38, August 1998. I have a lot more as well.
So that's just a fraction.
So that is the 49 that he was given
Originally.
life sentences for.
Jesus Christ.
Before his confession, authorities had not attributed to the Green River killer the deaths of 6 people. His confession and directions led police search crews to find the bodies of Avent, Buttram, and Malvar in August and September 2003. On December 21st, 2010, hikers near the West Valley Highway in Auburn, Washington, found a skull in the vicinity of where Marie Malvar's remains had been identified or had been found in 2003. The skull was identified belonging to Rebecca Murillo, who was last seen leaving the Western Six Motel at South 168th Street and Pacific Highway South on December 3rd, 1982. The King County prosecutor confirmed that Gary Ridgway would be formally charged with her murder on February 11th, 2011. On February 18th, 2011, he entered a guilty plea in the murder of Rebecca Murillo, adding a 49th life sentence to his existing 48. He confessed to murdering her in his original plea bargain, but due to insignificant evidence, the charges could not be filed. Therefore, there is no charge in his current incarceration status. Yeah.
You're kidding.
Nope. I wish I was, but I'm not.
That is so fucking disturbing.
Mm-hmm. The remains of Tracy Winston were found without a skull in Kent's Cottonwood Grove Park in March 1986. Her skull was found in November 2005 near Tiger Mountain, miles away from the discovery site of the rest of her body. Police assume someone carried it to that location.
Like, just picked up her head?
Yeah.
Just pumpkining it?
I guess. I don't...
That is sick.
Yeah.
That brings, like, Halloween and jack-o'-lanterns to a whole new meaning.
Mm-hmm.
That is disgusting.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Tell me more.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course there's more. There's always more.
There's always more.
Sandra Denise Major was not identified until June 2012. A family member asked the King County Sheriff to investigate after seeing a TV movie about Ridgway. DNA later confirmed her identity.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a stab.
Probably wrong choice of words.
Wrong choice of words. I am so sorry. I'm gonna take a stab at it and assume it was probably the same movie that I watched.
Quite possibly.
Because there was a Lifetime movie that's on Prime now.
Mm-hmm.
And that garnered a lot of attention from Indigenous and runaways in that area.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Wendy Stevens, previously known as Jane Doe B10, was obviously previously unidentified.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Ridgway claimed that she was a white female in her early 20s and possibly had brown hair. Examination of the remains suggested that she was actually between 12 and 18, most likely around 15. She was later confirmed to be 14. Analysis of the victim's skeleton indicated she was probably left-handed, and she had at one point in her life had a skull fracture to the left temple that later healed.
Later what?
Healed. Like, so she got a skull fracture while she was alive at some point, and the fracture healed. But it leaves scars.
Right.
And so it kind of, I guess, help them identify her. Jane Doe, body 17, was discovered on January 2nd, 1986. The remains that had been found in another area February 18th, 1984, were later matched to this victim. In 2003, Gary Ridgway claimed responsibility for her death. In December of 2023, so this past December,
mm-hmm.
DNA testing at Parabon Nanolabs identified the body as that belonging to Lori Ann Ponsnick, who had run away from home in 1982 at the age of 15.
So a whole almost 30 years later.
Yeah. Her family finally got answers.
I mean, good, but I mean, Jesus.
I know. Jane Doe body 20 was discovered in August 2003 because the remains were still partial. Her face could not be reconstructed and her race could not be determined, but she was estimated to have been between 13 and 24 years old at the time of her death. She was estimated to have been murdered between 1970 and 1993, but she was believed to have been murdered during the first decade of the murder spree. In January of 2024, so this past January,
mm-hmm.
DNA testing identified the body belonging to Tammy Lyles. A separate set of remains from her had been found in Oregon in 1985 and was also identified in 1988 from dental records.
Jesus.
So, suspected of, but not charged with, murdering the remaining 6 victims of the original list attributed to the Green River Killer. In each case, he either did not confess to the murder or authorities haven't been able to corroborate their suspicion with reliable evidence. Yeah. He denied killing Amina Agishef, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, who did not fit the profile of any of the victims considering her age, not being a sex worker or a teenage runaway. During police interrogations in 2003, while never being charged with her murder, he did confess to killing Casey Ann Lee, stating he strangled her in 1982, left her body near a drive-in theater off of the SeaTac Strip. Law enforcement officers have never, as of yet, been able to locate her remains at the dump site that he indicated. Evidence still exists that he murdered Kelly Kay McGinnis shortly before she disappeared. She was questioned by a Port of Seattle cop while dating Gary Ridgway near the SeaTac Strip. Dating in quotation marks.
Dating, like, okay. I was like,
yeah, it's in quotation marks.
So it was one of her Johns. It was one of her dates.
Basically.
Okay.
During the summer of 2003, he led the authorities to the bodies of several victims. One of the bodies that was later identified as April Bettram was initially identified by Gary as being that of Kelly Kay. According to him, he often confused the two due to their similar physiques.
It's sick.
It really is. He is also a suspect in the death of Angela Marie Gridner. Her remains were discovered within a mile of the bodies of Shirley Sherrill, Denise Bush, Tammy Lyles. Gridner was unknown until October 2009. He's been considered a suspect in the disappearances / murders of several other women who were not attributed at the time to the Green River Killer. As of such, no charges have been filed. An unidentified black female, possibly bearing the first name of Michelle, was a possible victim. She has never been located or identified.
Jesus.
Christy Land Vorak, who was 13, her body has not been found. Patricia Lee LeBlanc, 15, also has yet to be found. Rosemarie Curran, 16. Her body was found August 1987. Darcy Ward, 16. Body has yet to be found. And Cora McGurk, 22. Body has also yet been found. Cora McGurk was the mother of NBA player Martell Webster. McGurk disappeared when her son was only 4 years old.
Holy crap.
Gary Ridgway was long suspected for the 1987 murder of Rosemarie Curran, who was a 16-year-old addict and prostitute, but was recently ruled out as a suspect.
I gotta know how.
I couldn't find any explanation on it.
Jiminy.
So in 2004, of course, that's basically that's all of that. So there's been artwork created.
Artwork?
Has been. In 2004, Phil Hansen created and displayed artwork depicting Gary Ridgway's face, composed of 11,792 portraits of the 48 victims. Mm-hmm.
He made a portrait. I'm gonna be sick. He made a portrait of his face.
Using the victims' face portraits, yeah.
There's something grotesquely
incredibly wrong with that.
Yes, just.
And there has been a very long list of documentaries and films, both fiction and nonfiction, based on him. The 1984 documentary Murder, No Apparent Motive about serial killers and FBI profiles mentioned that the then ongoing Green River Killers murders were one of the latest examples of serial murders that go on in America without any apparent motives. Unsolved Mysteries, Season 8, Episode 15, which aired in 1996, had a segment that focused on a longtime suspect, William Stevens, and the episode features interviews with Stevens' living family members. Stevens died of pancreatic cancer in 1991 at the age of 40. The 9th episode of 2010's American documentary show Who the Bleep Did I Marry features Gary Ridgway's story and his third wife's side of it.
Oh,
I know. The Riverman is based on the true story of Ted Bundy assisting investigators trying to identify and catch the Green River Killer. It is based on the book by the same name by Robert D. Keppel. The direct-to-DVD movie Green River Killer was released in 2005. A 2006 episode of the TV series Crimes That Shook the World focuses on Gary Ridgway. In 2008, the Lifetime Movie Network aired The Capture of the Green River Killer, a TV movie based loosely on his crimes. Jerry Pilmere portrayed Ridgway, and in 2014, they aired a documentary called My Uncle is the Green River Killer, which featured Ridgway's family members. The Court TV, which is now True TV, had a series called Mugshots, which released an episode on Gary titled Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, which aired in 2013. In 2005, A&E series The Cold Case Files aired an episode called Obsession, Dave Reichert and the Green River Killer, which is Season 5, Episode 1. On June 2nd, 2017, HLN, which is Headline News, premiered the true crime series Beyond Reasonable Doubt with the episode The Green River Killer. The 1-hour episode reports on the advanced trace evidence that directly links tiny paint particles from the victim's clothing to Ridgway, which that basically explains how they were able to
catch him.
Conclude. Yep. Bundy and the Green River Killer, a 2019 horror film by Andrew Jones, starring Jared Nelson as Gary Ridgway. On February 17th, 2020, Investigation Discovery premiered a 2-hour special titled The Green River Killer, Mind of a Monster, featuring Ridgway. Catching Killers, which included an episode about the Green River case, was released on Netflix on Thursday, November 4th, 2021. It revolves around the decade-long hunt for the murderer of several women around the Green River area, which was finally solved after a huge breakthrough in crime scene science. And then you have so many books that are nonfiction and fiction just based on this. Apparently, it was also discussed in Stephanie Meyer's third Twilight book, Eclipse, when there are murders in Seattle. I was like, I don't remember that, but okay, I'll take your word for it.
It's super small. It's not even... Do I have it here? I'm checking my bookshelf.
Okay.
No, it's in the other room. But it's a...
I believe it, but
yeah.
I'm just like, I don't remember that. Granted, like, I read it like forever ago, like when they first came out, so it's been a minute. So it's also, he's been mentioned in music too.
What?
The grunge band Green River was named in reference to the murders, as well as the title track of their 1985 debut EP, Come On Down, discusses the murders from Gary Ridgway's point of view.
What?
Yeah. In 1998, the song I Want to Know What Love Is by Kathleen Hanna references the murders through the broader lenses of police brutality. The 2002 song Deep Red Bells by Nico Case was inspired by her own life growing up as a teenager near the metropolis during the time of the murders. The industrial/power electronics project called Death Pile made an album about the Green River Killer in 2003 titled GR.
GR? Just GR?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just G.R. down. The 2001 album Master of Brutality by Japanese doom metal band Church of Misery also featured a song called Green River, which was inspired by the murders.
That?
Yeah.
Okay.
In TV, which is this fiction, in a May 2013 interview, Ivina Sud stated her inspiration for The Killing Season 3, which was 2013, came from Streetwise, Mary Ellen Mark's book of photographs about teenage runaways in Seattle that were made into an eponymous EPONYMOUS.
Sure.
We'll go with it.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
1984 documentary. One of the street kids, Marianne Mark, documented in that and later books, 21-year-old Roberta Joseph Hayes fell victim to Gary Ridgway. Sud said she was very fascinated with Ridgway and the serial killer of numerous women and girls near Seattle and Tacoma, Washington in the 80s and 90s.
I'm looking at photos of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like one of my cousins. Like one of my uncle's brothers. Like very like...
That's not a good thing.
No, like very unassuming. Just very like... They all live in Wisconsin. You know, he just looks very like... You know, like a background actor. Yeah, like a background actor. Like you're not supposed to pay attention. Yeah. Like don't pay attention to the man
just
behind the green. Yeah.
Little side character that like might pop up with like one or two lines or something and then pop back out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I just sounded like, what's his name? Owen Wilson. Wow. Oh my God, that's his house. He lived in SeaTac?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a tiny little town, too.
I know.
Sorry, keep going.
No, that was it. That's all
okay.
I got.
So...
That is everything.
So the house...
multiple pages of
notes. Right. So the house where he's at, it's got like... It's a trailer. Like it's a house with a trailer. And it's got tons of woods in the area. But like... There's parts of the woods out there that are considered like... That are known as the killing woods. That... You know, they talk about it. They obviously talk about it because, you know, I used to hang out with indigenous tribes.
Everybody talk about it.
Everybody would talk about it. And it's people go out there, but they don't come back.
Yeah.
This is just, I can see why it took you 2 weeks. And this is, you know, one of the cases that, you know, that I'm working on currently. It's taken me, 2 weeks to work on the one that I'm currently working on because it's along the same lines where it's like, what the fuck?
Because you have to take so many breaks
right.
for your mental health.
Right.
Just dealing with this. Like, I couldn't imagine how the detectives and the forensic analysis and everybody had, like, how they could do this and not be able to take breaks.
Right.
Like,
I don't even
makes me
think.
realize I could never do that job.
Oh God, no. Like, I couldn't even, like, with my patient, like, when I worked at that one clinic, you know, you get attached to your patients, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, detectives, obviously, they get attached to their cases. And there was one of the documentaries that I watched, which was on oxygen, and one of the detectives, he had to leave. He had to just quit and pick up his family and move, because it was literally, he was taking the cases home and just,
Yeah.
and he's like, that's
It
not
was
healthy.
consuming him.
Mm-hmm. And I can understand, because they did parts of him on Mindhunters, you know, that TV show that like took over during COVID. And then the one that was on Amazon movie. Okay, it's on Amazon. Give me 1 second.
Gotta find it.
Gotta find it. I watched it a while ago.
While you're trying to find it, there is 1, 2, 3, 11 nonfiction books that are in print about Gary Ridgway.
Jiminy.
11. And I could just barely get through 4 different articles, putting the notes together.
Right.
I couldn't imagine writing like books about this.
So the one that I saw was Becoming Evil on Amazon. It's called Becoming Evil Serial Killers. And then Capture of the Green River Killer, part 1 and 2.
Okay.
And then there was a different movie that's kind of based off of a different serial killer, but I watched like all 3 of them on the flight, because, you know, I had to stay up for 38 hours. You know.
There was nothing else to do.
Yeah, right. You remember that day I called you at the airport?
Yes.
We
spent a lot of time on the phone that day.
We did. And then there's Bundy and the Green River Killer. I watched that one too. There were quite a few movies that I watched, and then people wondered why I couldn't sleep on the plane afterwards. You know?
Yeah, like it's a good reason why you can't sleep.
Well, I mean, I can't sleep on the plane, period, because, you know, I get motion sickness. Yes. But
after watching all of these documentaries about serial killers, you can't really go to sleep after that.
You can't. You know, it's one of those.
It's definitely something you have to watch a lot of wholesome
Disney
cute things.
Yes.
Afterwards, yeah.
Like Sword in the Stone and Robin Hood.
Right.
There's very few cases out there that shiver my timbers, as it were.
And this is definitely one of them.
This is one of them. This is one of the ones I told you I couldn't do. It was this one, Ted Bundy and BTK, and that's not BTK. What's his name? Dahmer.
Gacy?
Dahmer. And that's because where they killed was where in the sections of land is where I lived. It's not a matter of, I mean, yes, of course, their stuff disturbed me. Of course, murder and all.
It was just a little too close to home.
It was too close to home, because I'm sitting there, and one of the, for instance, one of the people that Dahmer, he had got one of the street kids that was hanging out in Dogtown, which is over by LA. I lived a block away. Granted, it was month to month, no lease. It was great, you know.
It was still too close to home.
It was too close to home.
Yeah.
And
I completely understand that.
Stuff like this, because I remember, you know, side of the road, 2:00 in the morning, sleeping in my car at a truck stop. Granted, my car's locked, but still it was in that time where you could just jimmy the lock.
Right, let alone bust the window.
Oh, yeah. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just too close to home. I completely understand that.
This is...
It was a lot. This was definitely a lot.
Are you okay, though?
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Okay. Do you watch...
I'm gonna go doom scroll on TikTok.
Oh, you're gonna send me another 60 some odd videos,
Yeah, of course. Normal. My normal stuff before I can fall asleep.
I'll do one next week.
Okay.
I'll do one next week. It's the one that I've been working on for the last 2 weeks.
So we can go ahead and get that done over with.
Yeah, okay. Forewarned for the next episode. It does target LGBTQIA. It targets trans people. It's not something that I'm okay with because a couple of my kids are trans, and so it definitely. Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah,
it's another hits too close.
I can handle this case. It's no. Mm-mm. Now it's either that one or it's one other case that I've already finished because it was one of those ones that I'm like, this is way too out in fucking left field for me not to work on.
I get that.
It involves chickens. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's so random. Chickens.
Death by chickens.
Because.
Oh my god. Josh sends me that whenever I'm having like a really bad day. Just sends me that video. And it's always like in sandwiched in between of other videos. I did not have fun today. It was a horrible case.
No, not at all.
This is terrible.
It was very strenuous.
This is so strenuous.
I've been dreading doing this one for since I started.
Okay, so now it's swept under the rug. Now you have other ones to work on,
Now I go work on other murderous serial killers.
Murders. We have those other murders from the last one, but we're gonna keep those. Yeah. We're gonna do those later.
And find my notes for those. I think I might have already tossed those notes.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll research them again. It's fine.
I have the ones for the Salem witch trial, but it wasn't actually in Salem. But, whatever. History books have it wrong.
It was right outside of Salem.
It was right outside of Salem. I have our little mascot sitting right next to me.
Yes, I'm so glad you got it.
I love him. He's so cute.
I saw the shirt and I was like, yes.
So for those of you who didn't listen to the last episode, Meg was on there with me and I got a mystery package and I was like, I'm not expecting any packages. I haven't bought myself anything for any serotonin release lately. And I got a possum. We have our mascot. His name is Oliver. If you're not following them already, Tattoos by Olive on Instagram did our logo. They're one of my kids. Yes. They're absolutely amazing.
Very talented.
Very, very talented. They make very whimsical, murderous material. They did one that was like Jason, the mask, but it was like pink and glitters with like it was so cute.
Interesting.
It was so cute. I was like, okay, I would like that, please. But with green.
Right.
Instead of pink. Like, don't get me wrong, pink looks great on me, but I'm already pink enough as it is. The rosacea and all.
This is true. But yes, so I saw the shirt where it said, was it Covens?
It's coffins, covens, and coffee.
Yes, I knew I was missing a C.
Yes.
And I was like, yes.
That
is very much
little coffee cups and spiders, and it's got a little skull on it and a little witch's hat. It's very cute.
Yes. I thought it was very appropriate.
It is. It is very, and he's got little legs.
I know.
So little legs. Next week I'll do something spooky. Hold on. Let me see. Oh. Normally it's a surprise for everybody, so I'm going to cut this bit
It'll be a
out.
surprise for everybody else.
Yeah, it'll be a surprise for everybody else. Okay, hold on. I'll figure it out. I have a week.
Flip a coin.
Flip a coin. Flip like a 20 die. I have a D20 because we're a bunch of nerds.
Hey, I mean, it works.
I mean, seriously. And then, as requested, we did get a request for a medieval horror. Hold on. I put it on my list.
Okay.
The Cecil Hotel, like who actually stayed at the Cecil Hotel. So I am doing Elisa Lamb. So we'll do the Cecil Hotel with that. And then I also got asked to do the Solder Children. So I put that on my list. So one person requested.
I always get really sad about the Solder Children.
You know, it's very sad. However, I looked at the research and, you know, because of how I was raised and the type of people I was raised with, you know, some of the thoughts that it might be related to mafia, you know, I could see it.
It's not that far of a stretch.
It's not that far of a stretch. It just kind of sucks because they were children.
It does.
You know?
Exactly.
But we have lots in store for you this season. I don't think we're taking a break this summer. I think we're just going to go right through.
I think so.
Mm-mm.
Yes.
And then we're going to take a break in December. I know that.
Yes. Because all the holidays.
But
it just gets too chaotic.
Right. But the month of May, we're going to have a guest.
Oh boy.
We're going to have a guest. Because the month of May is Nurses Appreciation Month.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay.
Now.
Okay. So the month of May, which is my birthday month and M's birthday month as well, we're appreciating nurses. So of course, for the month of May, we're doing Murderous Nurses.
Yes.
So even though this episode,
be surprising how many there actually are, though.
Right. I have a few on mine. You have a few on yours. Em has a few on hers. And our special guest is going to be doing some as well.
Yes, I believe so.
So it should be great. Should be fun.
It'll be interesting, to say the least.
It'll definitely be interesting. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day and stay spooky and don't
stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Don't get into strangers' cars. We keep talking about this. Don't get in strangers' cars unless it's an Uber, but make sure it's your Uber.
Yes.
Right.
Always make sure your a trusted friend has your location, just in case.
Rachel has mine all the time.
Yep. And you have mine.
I do. Also, people don't kidnap fat people, so stay safe. Eat cake.
This is true.
And with that, we'll see you guys next week. Okay, goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Next time on the Pandemonium Witches.
She got married.
I did.
To a
Man.
You get dysentery. You get dysentery. Oh, look, you've died of dysentery.
And bizarre autopsy results were the only things left behind.
Yes. Hit me with that radiation.
Yes.